Welcome to the Insiders Insight podcast, where we share with you the thoughts of the individuals who are working for projects that are changing the world. Thank you to our sponsor, Creditcoin, the building blocks of trust. For more details, please visit the show notes below. Welcome to OffChain Presents Insiders Insight. Today we have Kerel from NFTing to discuss how NFTs are going to evolve in terms of the utilities they can bring to the industry. But before we begin, why don't you tell us how you got into crypto and maybe give a bit of an introduction of your project?
Yeah, sure. So first, I guess my name is Kerel. How I got into crypto. The first time I will get into contact with crypto was back in 2013. The friend, so we did a bit of mining, but then sadly we sold Bitcoin at that time. We made a bit of money. We were students, so for us, any money was good money. But really, it's back in 2017 where everybody started talking about it that I got interested into it again, particularly with some of my colleagues and friends. In 2018, I joined professionally with the Bybit. For those that don't know, it's one of the major crypto derivative exchange. But at the time, the only other option was BitMEX, and it was not a very good alternative, let's say. So Bybit, we tried to change things. I really liked the idea. In the following years, I joined a number of other exchanges, finishing up with being the CMO of BTCMEX. Last year, one of my previous colleagues, when I was working in game marketing, talked to me. He reached out and saying he was doing a blockchain gaming platform, or DeFi platform, let's call it. Really love the concept. It's games and crypto, my two passions, so put together. So I joined for Creditcoin Network. And that was a really, really good year. We talked a lot of projects, we talked a lot of, it was just very exciting. But as we grew on, as we continued, me talking to NFT projects and then got into NFT marketplaces, I really saw the same type of discrepancies as what happened before with Bybit and BTCMEX with current NFT marketplaces, just not answering the needs of the current markets. And even further, not answering the needs at all of what NFTs will become. And that's what we created NFTing. So quick intro, so otherwise going to take an hour. NFTing is first a decentralized, a non-custodial NFT marketplace with multilingual features, so everyone can finally see what the heck they're buying at $1,000. But most importantly, it has user recommendations so that projects and artists can finally have some visibility on the platform instead of having to, basically push people from the external to their OpenSea page or whatever. So obviously, it's a much better experience for users themselves. So you see something that is relevant to you instead of seeing always the same thing in projects. This is not enough. We also have very in-depth filters. We have metadata tags. Our filters could also work as exclusive filters. So you can finally take out this not safe for work thing. Because I had a couple of issues with that. We say, hey, I'm working, and you have a bunch of not safe for work on the screen. And your girlfriend comes in, that does not look very good. We have detailed data dashboards. We have really a lot of features, including a lot of added utility for NFTs. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot of things we see for the futures of what NFTs will become. And the major thing is we're going out of these collectibles, and the last phase was like the auto-generational collectibles. We will still have that in the future. Collectibles is a fun use of NFTs, but it is not the only use, and by far should not be what in the future NFTs should be. We believe NFTs will be coming into our daily lives as many other things, and utilities are going to be the major driving factor for that. We hope mass adoption.
Perfect. Maybe you could tell us more about how you think NFTs are going to be used in the future. What do you think are the added utilities?
There's a lot of possibilities in many of different sectors. We already see some very amazing ideas out there, like the citizenship NFTs. I don't know if you heard about those. You have citizenship. You have some people trying to work on making CVs. So the way that could work could be when you finish your studies at let's say Harvard could issue an NFT saying that person studied from that to that. And because again, a diploma basically is well, it's just a piece of paper that says you studied there, and that should not be able to be forged. Now, sadly, it can still be, and also it's a piece of paper. I don't know about you, but I had a couple of times where I had some fright of what happened with it. But there, with NFTs, not only would you have this being just not forgeable and much more easier to be provable to be true, but also there would be a lot of integrations. You could have like a blockchain CV, where they would take all these NFTs of companies' experiences or working here or there that could be put together in a number of formats. You could have, ticket concerts. You could have that be your subscription, your visa. It could be a lot of all these day-to-day use cases that we see could actually become NFTs. It could be your invoices. It could be your receipt at the supermarkets. There's really the principle of NFTs is to have a unique set of data, and this unique part we actually don't see it, but it really comes into everything in our lives. We already see also a lot of applications with. Again, this works a bit more in the collectible area, but with real life applications like with the Louis Vuitton, Regard, Nike, all these things creating NFTs for some of their luxury products. So we always hear about this blockchain revolutionizing the way logistics could work, etc. NFTs could also be implemented in there. It's really, again, the sky is the limit when it comes to NFTs and all these different use cases. Obviously, for me, I come from a P2E industry, so that's also the things I'm the most excited about. Being able to finally have this interoperability. We all heard about Loot and a couple of the things. This is just the beginning because there is some issues with both with the current models. But that's something I'm super excited about. Like if I have my Mass Effect characters be playable, or some of the Mass Effect things that in Mass Effects have an impact on Eve, or have in Star Citizens or something else. Or Dragon Age have an impact on my Baldur's Gate 3 things. That's the dream for a game.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. I think that you mentioned about citizenships, like citizenships can be issued like NFTs. It's a very cool topic to discuss. I was also looking into housing market, and I think it would be great if NFTs could represent the housing ownership. Then we can get rid of all these like real estate agents and middlemen. When we want to buy or rent the house, you can just like pass or temporarily lend an NFT which represents the house ownership, and that would be great. Yeah. But again, when I'm thinking, sorry, continue.
Oh, I mean, it's that and others actually something we're looking at NFTing when it comes to the legal framework of NFTs, how to seduce. Like we mentioned bank accounts, but what you mentioned also is a very good example is real estate. The DeFi, what the dApps and DeFi taught us is that there is a possibility of, as I said, getting rid of the middleman, and that could absolutely come into terms of the way NFTs work. The one issue is, again, with the real implementations, so the legal structure, there would still need to be some kind of a legal middleman, but it would be much easier and faster in a lot of sense when it comes to that. Also, just having the actual real estate just give you an NFT to safeguard both interests in a more provable and transparent manner. Yeah. I mean, there's lots.
Yeah, definitely. Because like right now, I mean, this industry is so fresh, right? And so rapid. So I think like we, even though like everybody who is in Web3 and DeFi, everybody kind of have like this perception of the government that like, no, we want to step back from that. We want to take like power back to the people. But what I see in this NFT space right now is that a lot of people, they fall on basically projects that are rat holes, or like they lose their savings because of the malicious plans of like people who just want to steal their money. So we do need some kind of regulations, I think. And especially when I think, imagine if my passport or like my university degree is going to be on blockchain, and then it can be stolen through the phishing link or something like this. And then like I went to college for 5 years and then it's not mine anymore. Like how you can deal with that? So this kind of like identity theft or something, I think it's going to be a big challenge. Like the biggest challenge that I see for this industry is the security, basically. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think me too. Totally agree. security-based problems is one of the major issues. When it comes to audits, first, we've all seen some audit firms very good at marketing, but not good at auditing. With very major hacks happening. And as you said, security also comes itself. So whenever there's a smart contract involved, there is a bigger risk. That's one of the reasons first we go for a decentralized model rather than a custodial model. We want people first to keep their ownership. That's very Web3, 3D model. But also then we're looking into other ways to implement security. For example, for us, our smart contracts, we're working on a way to make them not callable anywhere outside of our UI UX. Phishing links, sadly, is something else we're going to have to work on. And it's also a lot of crypto educations, the way the wallet works, the way people understand them. Mass adoption is really taken back because of all this, as I said, rug pulls, because of the scams, because of people, the complexity of it also. There's like a very steep learning curve. And these are all things that really need to be worked out for the entire Web3 and in particular for NFTs.
Yeah.
Because people have this idea of rug pull, I said, for NFTs. Like I talked to even my little brothers, it's like, no, NFTs are a scam or something. Like, no. So
yeah, unfortunately, there is like a bad image going on right now especially when people just hear something from their friends, because I mean, if you get rug pulled, you go online and you complain a lot about that, or you just quietly cry over your lost ones. Yeah, and the thing, like the paper-based transactions, basically like all transactions that we had in the past, they're inefficient because they require like more human like manpower, and they also have a tendency like to be lost. And but again, like the documents that stored online, they also can be hacked, like duplicated, and like companies losing files. Sometimes even banks get hacked and all their customers' information like just leaks somewhere. And NFTs like of the future, I think they can solve both of these problems. They can bring a new layer of security to digital transactions and also be very efficient, especially if we will move from proof of work to proof of stake, which is another very interesting topic to discuss, I think. What do you think about like proof of work versus proof of stake? Do you have like any ideas about that?
First of all, my girlfriend is eco-friendly. She's working with sustainability, so proof of stake is a lot better than proof of work on that aspect. We know that a lot of people are against Bitcoin because there's this the intensive necessity to, basically this proof of work is very intense, very energy demanding, while proof of stake is a lot better. There's been a lot of, first, proof of stake, which one? There's several types of proof of stake that are there. I think much in the same way as proof of work we are going to have other blockchains or other proposals that will need to be thought after to both keep the spirit of blockchains and basically what made the whole thing interesting, the benefits of the actors, and try to avoid anything like a 50% attack or anything. But a proof of work does not work. It is not something valid at scale just because of the energy demands. We really need to look into, I'm not saying necessarily do like an eco-friendly chain only, but we need to be more efficient. We keep talking about we're trying to take away the middleman or things like that. But a lot of the way some of the blockchain work right now is still efficient at scale. Obviously, there is some solutions being worked on, but I'm still waiting for my ETH 2.0. So that's taking a long time. In general, I am more for proof of stake type of solution just because of that inefficiency and energy demand that proof of work.
I have to disagree. I think that what you said about proof of work, in that it's more energy intensive, is just only one side of the story. Actually, proof of work encourages miners to find most cheapest source of energy. So a lot of energy that proof of work systems use is from hydro, it is from thermal heating, is from wind. And the reason why they're able to do this is because usually these energy sources, they're too out of the way to be plugged into the grid. And so rather than not invest in them because there's no way to make money from it, what Bitcoin allows us to do is to invest in on those technologies, get those energy sources up and running, store that energy in a monetary value that is Bitcoin. And then when our technology is improved enough, we'll then be able to move these sources of energy, these renewable sources of energy back onto the grid. But if there wasn't Bitcoin, they would never be taken advantage of because there's no point. They can't get plugged into the grid. It's because of Bitcoin that these renewable energies come online.
I disagree with you. The renewable energy have seen very massive growth much before Bitcoin. And also, again, you said they cannot be plugged into the grid. What you're meaning is not they cannot, is they do not want to plug it into the grid so as to not be trapped. That's what's generally going on. And
No, that's not what I mean.
Is not, what do you mean?
You can imagine you're in Iceland. There's a thermal energy source from a hot spring, and it's so far from the infrastructure of the electricity grid that plugs into everyone's house. To get that thermal heating energy source into the grid, it's just almost impossible with our current technology. So Bitcoin allows us to be able to mine that energy into Bitcoin and then save that as monetary power, and then be able to spend that and then invest in infrastructure later on to perhaps plug it into the system. And we see wasted energy sources like this all of the time. We have, for example, in grids where they're doing, say, where they're using hydrocarbons to make electricity, there's a lot of wasted heat from those plants. There's a lot of wasted gas that just cannot get plugged in. And Bitcoin harnesses all of that wasted electricity to mine Bitcoin. So I don't think I think that my point that I'm trying to make is that there is a place in this world for proof of work. And concerns of the thing about proof of work is, there is this tendency towards decentralization, because if you're from a land that has very cheap source of electricity, you can just run up a mining node and start mining Bitcoin. Yeah. And with proof of stake, you need 32 ETH. So that does tend to centralize to those who do have capital. Yeah. But on the flip side, obviously,
but then, as you said, we need 32 ETH. That is for the basic proof of stake. Remember that this is not the only ways that can happen. You can have pools, meaning that you by yourself cannot do it, but still work within groups. So again, bringing the community together. Also, what you mentioned with the proof of work does not undermine my base argument, which is it's energy demanding. It is still energy demanding. It does create interests into ways to try to reduce or reuse certain types of energies. But again, those are not necessarily at scale. We all know that the biggest miners before were Chinese giants trying to use the coal power of, for example, Chinese regions. So the only way that, as you said, people want to go for the cheaper energy. So in your example for Iceland might be done by a couple of people in Iceland themselves, but that's not where most of the power from proof of work will come from. This will just still come from regions where the energy can be produced massively for a very cheap price, and generally those ended up, at least I hope this can be different, being, Chinese coal power plants or Russians or things like that. I have seen, though, as I said, a transition towards cleaner models and reusability of things, but I don't think the scale is there yet. Those are all individual, people wanting to do that, like an initiative. It's all individual initiatives, though they're very interesting. My point is Bitcoin as a proof of work model still is energy demanding, and I think we could try to find more hybrid models. But again, proof of stake, you have, parts where you could create pools, meaning that I still, like you, I don't like this 32 thing. I don't like the minimum, though I understand it. But the energy demand will always be there for proof of work model as it is right now. I do hope it's going to change, though.
Yes, but, since China closed down its mining, most of the mining has gone to America. And a lot of the mining is using a renewable wind energy, because they're able to set up all of these wind farms in Texas grid. There's nothing else to do, but it's very good for wind energy. So they've set up the Bitcoin mine there. And if you look at, I don't know what it's called, but the sustainability graph of Bitcoin, like the majority of its energy comes from renewable sources. Now, look, the thing is, I'm sounding like I'm very supportive. I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I'm really not. Actually, I think that it's going to play a far more important role than Bitcoin does, in my personal opinion. But what I'm saying is I completely understand why Bitcoin has to be proof of work and what are the benefits from it being proof of work. And I don't think that this energy argument is a valid one, because of the fact that most, if not, almost all of Bitcoin's energy comes from renewable sources.
Yeah, but if you want to, again, remember the base argument we had here was mainstream onboarding, right? We came into and we say, like, people have a negative opinion of why the blockchain technology, NFTs, etc. So basically for me, there is 2 or 3 major problems into the mainstream perception of blockchain. One, it's a scam, it's a rug pull, it's something. 2, they always mention that Bitcoin energy problem. They don't look, most people sadly still take things at face value. They're not going to go deeper. They're going to go for my friend said. They're going to go for this article said. They're going to go for, I saw that tweet that said. And that tweet said the energy demand for Bitcoin X is XYZ, and that represents Y% of the entire thing. They are crazy energy demanding. They're not going to go into this. They're using more renewable energy than before. They shift into the industry since the China ban, etc. So at least there needs to be, I think we agree on, there will need to be a rebranding image of the Bitcoin. I said there needs to be massive efforts done so that we could get away from these scam rug pull type of things, which we saw happen in 2017-18, which we saw happen kind of again in the last 1.5 year. And I think it's the same thing. We will need a very massive rebranding when it comes to the way Bitcoin is perceived and the way and then because generally again people, they see Bitcoin, they see blockchain, they don't make that differentiations. They don't know if they don't know proof of work, they don't know proof of stake. They see Bitcoin is the biggest, they do that much energy, and again they don't know renewable or anything, and then they see others and they think it's the same. I've actually had very long, tenuous conversation trying to explain. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys have also tried to explain blockchain to others. How did that go in general?
I think it goes quite well.
It will, but it goes
personally.
Long, right? It's very long.
It's long, but it's a complicated topic.
Yeah.
It's a complicated topic.
Yeah. So again, it needs to take a long time for the perception to be understood. In general, people don't take the time. So when it's your friend, he's going to take it. Because, he can't get it. But when it's just, again, a matter of perceptions and trying to show what NFTs, what blockchain can be. And that's always going to be one of the struggles I think we have.
I think so my personal opinion is all of this ESG issue is perhaps some sort of scheme plotted by, Blackstone, to sort of manipulate people into thinking about these issues. I don't know if you've read much about the Great Reset, where these individuals, they went Davos and they said, you'll be happy with, you'll have nothing and you'll be happy. I'm just aware that there's a lot of lying made from those who have power, and it kind of like hides the biggest issue, which is centralization, right? It's about where does the power lie? And we look at the landscape of blockchain right now, and when people see Ethereum and they see Bitcoin and they think it's very similar to, say, a Avalanche or a Solana or whatever, they don't understand that there is a really big difference, and that is decentralization. And I think that if we don't focus the conversation on decentralization, we may have crypto, we may have blockchain, but it may not look like the world that we want it to look like.
Yeah, I see what you mean with it's like the digital UN. You heard about that one?
Yes, but I won't say too much about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's pros and cons to it. I do think that I lived in China for a lot of years, and you really need to live there to understand the differentiations between what you have thrown in your face in the West and how it is out there. There's obviously things we will not necessarily agree with the way they're done, but China is doing things differently their way, and some of these things just work, and they are a lot faster. Like, for example, here I am, it's been taking me about 10 days to try to get internet. Electricity was also 2, gas, all these things back in the West still take forever, and I need to show you basically show your bank information, you need to give basically all your personal information away just to get a house. Like you house your contracts, or your name, your ID, all your bank information. You need to give it all away, and it takes forever to be done. In China, it was not nearly as complicated. It was much faster. It could all be done online. I could have things in a matter of minutes. And it actually took less personal information. I know there's complexity. People are like, no, private life, but no, actually, it's just done differently. And I think that's the same thing with digital UN. It's It's not a crypto for me, but I do think there's an interest. It does show that the Chinese government is not completely closed off to new technologies. And I think that's one of the issues we can have with legislations, is that in the West, a lot of times they don't understand and they don't want to understand. They just want to see how could we make money, kind of like regulate it, not into how could we use it, how could it be very beneficial for people. So yeah, it's a matter of debate, so I'll stop there.
All right. Let's start to wrap this up. Kerel, I've just got 2 more questions for you. The first question is, in your off-chain time, what do you like doing? So when you're not working on crypto, what are your interests?
I work from 8 to 12, including Saturday. So I only have basically Sunday. I like to game, as I said before. I am a gamer at heart before. That is why I was really into P2E. Still am. So I play journey strategy games, RPG. Yes, I'm trying to go back to the gym because as I said, I was there before. I got stuck out of China after a business trip and COVID. And I gained 30 kilos in the year and a half that followed, between, staying in a hotel to work all days and eating just takeout stuff for a year and a half. So trying to work out, trying to still play games, trying to build stuff also. I like crafting and reading. I read a lot.
Perfect. And Kerel, last question. So what do you think is going to be the next hype cycle in crypto? I mean, we're in the bear market, so maybe nothing, but what do you think it's going to be?
The next hype cycle is derivative, go short. The next thing I think is, I don't know if you know, P2E got like massive investments. I think it was like 4.5 billions. Just for equity type of deals. And then there's tokens. I mean, there's like a huge P2E thing coming. I know we've talked about it. There was already a hype, but it was very, very basic gaming. And I think the next generation of P2E gaming is coming. And that includes NFTs, which can need a new type of platform. So NFTing. I think that's going to be the next thing. Like the P2E is going to simplify a lot of the ways the NFTs work. But right now, the first wave of P2E, I think, was not very simple. It was very complicated at first. You still need a lot of things, connect, etc. They're going to simplify it. They're going to integrate into a lot more games. And then that's going to be the next hype cycle. I think all of those will be good. Still, there's going to be a couple of weird projects just trying to say, hey, we added that, and that's it. But there's no real, reason why to. But I think that's going to be the next thing, and I think I'm going to play that. I'm going to be playing, for example, there's Buildingblocks, which is, again, from my old friend, which is a kind of medieval RPG with P2E and NFTs. And it looks really, really good. And I think that's going to be the next type of thing. Because gaming is really becoming a very, very big mainstream thing. Back in 1980s or 1970s, it was X who played, and all the others kind of like, well, not necessarily bullied them, but they went up on the, that was not the good thing. Now, do you know anyone who didn't ever play?
Oh, of course not. Everyone played.
Everyone plays something, even on your phone, casual, like playing Candy Crush or something. I mean, everybody plays, and this is becoming more prevalent. I mean, even my grandma plays Candy Crush and stuff like that. So for me, and once we finally have a good P2E, something that will go mainstream, I think that's going to be the main cycle. Now, prove me wrong. I would love to have something else. I'm a very big fan of, other applications. The P2E thing is not over, and I think utility is also very, very big.
Awesome, Kerel. Do you want to just shout out any social you want to promote, or any websites or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, of course, obviously it's nfting.store. This is our website for the marketplace. We're going to be live around mid to end of August. You'll see it's going to be very, very different from any other marketplaces. Don't want to take too much of your time. Just check it out. Follow our socials, Twitter, LinkedIn, TG, Discord, Medium, we have it all. Help us out if you can. And also, most importantly, we are going to we are all inclusive. We are also going to aggregate all the platform, but it's free, it's non-binding, non-exclusive. So try to promote us to other projects, invite them, get them on board. We're going to Priest. It's very simple, it's free. And obviously we welcome all non-run projects.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for that. All of those information will be in the show notes below, and we'll see you on this episode. Bye, guys. The Insider's Insight podcast is meant for informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial or investment advice. Nothing expressed in this podcast should be construed as a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any financial products. Information expressed by the host or guest of this podcast does not necessarily reflect any views of our sponsors.